How Barcelona created Lamine Yamal. Before turning 18, Lamine Yamal had already become the future of Barcelona and Spain. But his story didn't begin with talent alone. It began years before anyone knew his name. Did Barcelona simply discover Lamine Yamal, or did they build him? Chapter 1. The Boy Nobody Knew. Origins in Rocafonda.
He didn't learn to play on some pristine, manicured pitch. He learned on the cracked concrete of Rocafonda, an impoverished neighborhood in Barcelona. His parents were immigrants, just struggling to survive. And here's a twist you probably didn't see coming. His father didn't name him after some famous athlete. When the money completely ran out, two ordinary strangers stepped in to pay his family's rent. Their names? Lamine and Yamal. His very identity is literally a monument to survival and a quiet act of kindness.
And he carries those origins with him every single time he steps onto the pitch. Have you ever noticed what he does when he scores? He flashes the numbers 304 with his hands. That's the postal code of Rocafonda. It's a signal to the whole world, but more importantly, it's a promise to himself, a reminder to never forget those hard streets where he first learned to play the game completely without fear.
Chapter 2. The Masia Blueprint. A Borrowed Beginning. At just 7 years old, Barcelona's legendary academy comes calling. But picture this. It's his very first trial at La Masia, and he realizes he forgot his boots. A coach frantically scrambles to find him an old pair, but they're way too big for his tiny feet. You'd think that would ruin his chances, right? But the absolute second he touched the ball in those oversized, borrowed boots, the coaches were just paralyzed. He possessed this natural, fearless joy that you simply cannot teach. But listen, raw talent alone doesn't survive at the elite level of football. That's where Barcelona's machinery went to work. The brilliance here is that they didn't try to erase his street instincts. Instead, they weaponized them. As youth coach Albert Puig pointed out, as the years passed, the gap between Yamal and everyone else didn't shrink. It grew into a massive chasm. Chapter 3. A Tactical Phenomenon. Evolving the Winger.
Think about a conventional winger for a second. They can be managed. You show them wide, you delay the cross, right? Well, Yamal operates on a totally different level. He drifts into these half spaces, manipulating defensive angles with a processing speed that is genuinely terrifying. He deliberately attracts pressure, using incredibly subtle feints to turn what should be a one-on-one battle into a one-on-zero advantage. Defenders aren't just trying to stop his body, they are forced to defend against his mind.
But even a phenomenon needs refinement. When Barcelona manager Hansi Flick came in, he identified exactly two vulnerabilities in Yamal's game, and he instituted a ruthless development plan. The mandate was clear: strengthen his weaker right foot and sharpen his finishing. The end goal? Total, terrifying unpredictability. They wanted a player who completely destroys a defense's ability to even formulate a plan.
Chapter 4. Rewriting History. The Record Breaker. So what happens when you fuse Rocafonda street smarts with La Masia precision? It absolutely explodes on the world stage. Just look at the timeline. At 15, Barcelona's youngest debutant in a century. 16, Spain's youngest scorer. At the European Championship, just days shy of his birthday, he bends this impossible shot past France to become the youngest scorer in the tournament's entire history. A day after turning 17, he's the youngest ever to play in a major international final. In a matter of weeks, he shattered records that Pelé had held for 66 years. Let that sink in. Chapter 5. The Weight of Expectations. Escaping the Shadow. To be hailed as the savior of Barcelona is a crushing weight. It has broken seasoned veterans. For Yamal, the pressure reached a genuinely bizarre peak when a forgotten charity photo from 2007 resurfaced. It showed a 20-year-old Lionel Messi bathing a 6-month-old baby. That baby was Lamine Yamal. His father actually hid this photo for 16 years, desperate to protect his son from the impossible curse of being anointed the next Messi right from birth. Yet, somehow, his mind remains completely bulletproof, carrying a €1 billion release clause. He absolutely refuses to be swallowed by the shadow of a ghost. He acknowledges the greatness before him, but his stance is simple. He says, "I hope I will be remembered for being Lamine Yamal." He isn't trying to be the next anyone. He's carving his own legacy. And how does he stay so psychologically anchored through all of this? By remembering exactly who he is. On his boots, he proudly wears the flags of his tri-nation heritage: Spain for his birth, Morocco for his father, and Equatorial Guinea for his mother. Every single time he steps onto the pitch, he is carrying his family, his past, and his roots with him. Chapter 6: Defining the Next Generation, the World Cup, and Beyond. We are literally watching a legacy being actively constructed. By the time he was 18, he stood in Paris for the 2025 Ballon d'Or, finishing second to Ousmane Dembélé. Now, while his father was completely furious about the result, Lamine just smiled. He calmly congratulated Dembélé and simply went back to work. That is a display of mental resilience far, far beyond his years. He carried that exact same fierce spirit right into the 2026 World Cup. Despite facing injuries and the suffocating pressure of the globe's biggest stage, he played with the exact same pure joy he first found back in Roccafonda, proving definitively that no stadium in the world will ever be too big for the boy who learned to play on cracked concrete.
Barcelona didn't just create another footballer. It may have created the player who defines the next generation of football.